Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the RDA Central West Business Leaders Breakfast. Great to have you with us this week. And joining me this morning is Craig Randazzo, the CEO of Skillset. Craig, welcome to breakfast.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here, mate, and thanks for coming in. Look, Skillset, it's a well-known organisation across the Central West. You have a long history in the region. But for those that maybe don't know your personal journey, can you tell us a little bit about your connection to the Central West and what led you to your current role with Skillset?
Yeah, sure. Well, my wife and I moved up here in when was it? 2000. Yeah, it was 21 years ago now. So both grew up in, I grew up in Sydney. My wife grew up in Orange. Wanted to start a family. And look, I think both of us realised like Sydney is a two-income city. And Helen was really keen to stay at home, and we both love that idea. And really moving up here has allowed us to do that. We bought an amazing house on, quite a big size block. I think it was $150,000. None of our friends in Sydney could believe that. And it's been the best move we have ever made.
How's the Central West changed in that 20 years? What are
seen some changes. Yeah. Well, I think there's definitely a lot more services. The retail has really grown. I mean, I just think here you have amazing health services, you've got amazing education opportunities. We really have seen some growth of those sort of core infrastructure of the region. So much so that I just actually cannot ever imagine why, you would actually consider, particularly for family people, living anywhere else. It is just so ideal.
Yeah, and you've probably seen that reflected in the massive growth of interest in our region over recent years. But tell us a little bit more about, I guess, Skillset, the services that Skillset provides, and as I said at the top of the interview, it's got a long history in the region.
So you're right. So we will celebrate 40 years in continuous operation next year. So I think that's a pretty amazing milestone for any business. We provide quite a few services really centred around the education, skills development and employment sectors. Our largest service would be our apprenticeship and traineeship service through what's called a group training model. So it's a managed apprenticeship service where Skillset is actually the legal employer of that apprentice or trainee. And then we support those people throughout their 3 or 4 year journey. And the idea of that really is to provide those largely younger people with the support they need to achieve completion. We've really found this model works very well for business because our completion rates are much higher than if an apprentice was taken on direct with an employer. They've got all the support from our team of staff who travel around the region in cars, go to the website, we solve problems, we liaise with TAFE. We make that journey a much more doable proposition.
And if you're a business owner, I guess your core business is fabrication, whatever it might be,
doing
you just take the pressure off.
Exactly.
And the way it transitions that better completion rate.
Yeah,
now,
totally.
Skills development is really a focus area of RDA Central West. Making sure we have the right skills in our region is essential for economic development and business growth. Have you seen a change in, I guess, the skills that businesses are looking for in the Central West over the last, 12 to 18 months?
Yes, I think there's been a few big sort of mega trends that have been happening. First of all, the tap has been turned off from I guess cheap and readily available overseas labour. So I think that's had a real impact, and you've seen, I guess, lots of news reports. We're talking to employers. There are real skills shortages, particularly in trade areas. We're seeing things like project managers, professionals, human resources. There's a number of key sort of domains where employers are really going, I'm finding it actually hard to grow or hard to fill orders, hard to complete contracts with the lack of skills. I think for me, it really, a colleague of mine, our general manager the other day said, is this the skills crisis we had to have to sort of wake people up to go, okay, maybe we need to grow our own. Maybe we need to really start investing in apprenticeships, in traineeships. It's a slow proposition, granted. It's not an instant fix because it takes years of skills development to get that person up to, you know, a productive and valued employee. However, I really think we've got to put in the hard yards now to invest in the young people in our region. And also I think we're really trying to get that message across. Make your decision to embark on a trade career a plan A. It's not a fallback solution. It's not a second choice. You know, trade careers, you're earning and learning at the same time. You're not ending up with a massive HECS debt at the end of it. You're being paid to develop your skills. You've got a 92% employability rate at the end of your trade compared to around about 68% for uni graduates. We need great unis. We work with the uni sector, absolutely. We still need a really healthy uni sector. But I often find that trades are sometimes thought of as a second choice or a fallback option.
You're right, there's actually some fantastic career progression opportunities with the trades, and I think with all the major infrastructure projects that are coming down the pipeline in the Central West over the next 5 to 10 years, I don't think that demand, as you said, is going to ease off at all.
Absolutely.
Talking about youth pathways and trying to get more local youth predominantly into apprenticeships and into work. One of the things that caught my eye when I was doing my research for today's chat was Skillforce 500. Can you tell us about that and where that started from and what its ambitions are?
Sure. So hopefully some of the viewers will have seen our campaigns over the years. So back in 2016, we saw some pretty disturbing rates of youth unemployment in the region. And so we thought, how do we shine a light on the importance of employing local young people, starting them into a trade career? So we created a campaign that we called back then Pledge 250. And the idea was to get 250 job pledges right across our footprint of the Central West and just shine a light on that, create a buzz with the campaign. And so since 2016, every year, we've run what we now call a jobs and skills campaign. It's ended up with a bigger target. First 2 years it was 250. We went to 360, and now today we call our campaign Skillforce 500. And it's really, our aim is to get 500 people between October and March into education, training or employment, be that an apprenticeship, be it through our labour hire service, be it through our permanent recruitment service.
And we'll put the link up to Skillforce 500 after this morning's chat, because I reckon that's a crack for local businesses out there that are looking to get some staff on. Great campaign. Now, as you said, Skillset, you've got a diverse history in the services that you've provided over to that near 40 years. One that's you've been successful in getting some funding for recently is Careerlink Central West. Can you tell our listeners on the podcast and our viewers about what Careerlink aims to achieve? And I think it's a beautiful segue from supporting, I guess, young people into work, but this is kind of the next step.
Yeah, so look, at Skillset we sort of use the language of the employment life cycle. So, you know, our services now have grown to really encompass young people coming into an apprenticeship reasonably young, right through to mature age. You know, there is some service that we can provide right across that age group. Careerlink was something we designed in response to the development of a new career institute, a national career institute, which came out of a big review into the vet sector back in 2019. And so we applied for a grant to that body, and we're lucky enough to be, well, out of 600 grant applications, there were only 13 awarded, and we got one of those through a national process. So we were pretty excited for the region, and of course it was great news for Skillset as well. And part of applying for that, of course, was partnering with RDA, who are providing us with all the local intel, the data on, you know, skills growth, and etc., which has been a really great union with you guys, Sam. Careerlink is really trying to raise the understanding of what is career development and really targeting an age group that before our service here was completely unserviced with any free career advice and information. So that's the 25 to 44 year age group. There are already existing services for people aged up to 24, and then there's a service for more mature people from 45 onwards. But we identified there was just a real gap in that what I would call prime working age demographic. And so we're rolling out that career development and information service right across the 11 local government areas that exactly map to your RDA Central West area.
I saw the Careerlink van in Orange yesterday, and it's
Yes.
been out and about. You've got some great engagement happening at the moment. And as you said, one of the things that really stuck with me when we were chatting off air was something about the number of jobs, I guess, that people are taking now, you know, over their career life cycle, as you said, and it probably feeds in nicely to why having a service like Careerlink is so important.
That's right. I think people these days will move through a number of different roles. I mean, the research is telling us it's something like 17 different jobs that they will have in a lifetime across 5 or 6 different complete career areas. I mean, I just think, I sort of read that and I thought, that seems pretty big. And then I just thought, okay, I'm going to test myself with this, and actually that's pretty accurate for me. I'm 53, and that's pretty much what I have done. Like, I had hospitality, you know, I've now moved to the not-for-profit sector. I was in recruitment in Sydney. I had my own business for a time. Like, people do move through that. The thing that Careerlink brings, though, is just some method, a face-to-face consultation with someone who can actually, not just about sort of finding the first job we can put you into. It's not a job placement service. It's really giving the people that we assist some confidence, understanding what their transferable skills are. Quite often we're not very good at, you know, interviewing ourselves and going, okay, I've done this and this in my current job. How can these skills that I've developed, say in administration, how can they be transferred over into perhaps an industry in really high demand like community services? But that's what our consultants are trained to do. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's about aligning those skills development that you might go through to the jobs that are going to be on offer in our region, which I think is such a fantastic service.
Yeah.
Now look, we're going to hit Craig with the Fast Five, learn a little bit more about him, what makes him tick. So Craig, hidden talent or hobby?
Okay, well I do play the guitar.
Okay.
I was trained classically, but you know, now I just play for fun. I love my cooking too. I love catering for you know, large groups. I did my wife's, there's some time ago, but I think I catered for 80 people by myself.
Okay.
So I love doing that.
That is a talent. I have to come over for lunch. Best local event or festival?
Oh, I reckon maybe the Bathurst Winter Festival was pretty good, I think. But I think Food Week have to be up there as well.
Yeah, look, Food Week, it's a cracker. I think the Winter Festival is actually on currently, or it's just about to kick off.
Kicking off, I think.
We'll whack the link up for that one, because it is a cracker for the family if you're down there in Bathurst.
Yeah.
Hidden gem of the Central West. This could be a person, a place, a venue, or somewhere you like to show off when you've got visitors.
Well, do you know what? I want to give a shout out to the Gold Seekers Orienteering Club.
Okay.
So our family, we do orienteering with them. We've been doing it for many years. I actually remember taking a stroller to one of the events once and leaving it in the bush there and going back for it later.
Hopefully not with the child still in it.
No, we did take the child. We did remember that. But Basil and Jean Baldwin, who run the Gold Seekers Orienteering Club, they are absolute legends, and I think they won an award yesterday, I saw on Facebook. So they give up their time, they have just put so much into that club, and it's just great fun. You run through the bush, you get to see the outdoors. If you like doing a bit of exercise, you can run and challenge yourself. So yeah, we love that.
Yeah, good shout out to them. They're also actively involved in the Orange Running Club, so I think that's another one to give them a plug. Last book you read or movie you saw?
I'm reading a book at the moment called Grit by Angela Duckworth. She's a psychologist, and it's a pretty optimistic book. It really talks about the power of passion, the power of resilience over what she calls talent, just what you might be born with. Yeah. So I think it's a really optimistic book. It actually tells you, okay, if you try hard, you strive, that's going to beat talent hands down every day. So that's I'm only halfway through, but it's a really good book. What was the other one?
Movie that you've seen?
Oh, look, Friday night, movie night in our house. I think the last one was could it be The Greatest Showman?
Okay.
Which is pretty good, I have to say.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. Yeah, give him a plug.
Love
Good,
it.
good.
Yeah.
Favourite sporting code or team?
Well, I'm going to say soccer because, my 11-year-old son is involved in that. And I'll have to say, Sims Red, under 12s.
Good for you.
Best team.
Yeah, like that a lot. Now, look, it's been a challenging 12, 18 months for regional leaders, with everything that's unfolded. But as a local leader in your field, what have you learnt about yourself, or how has your leadership style changed?
Look, I think really understanding what your customers need has been really important. Listening to what they need, because those things have changed over time. The other thing I think as well is be informed by what's going on out there with your customers. I guess through COVID there was certainly an option to retreat, to radically change what we were doing. We chose not to do that, largely because our customers kept going. We actually were so resilient in this region, we found. Of course, hospitality, tourism, travel, etc., venues, events. There are certainly some sectors that were really badly affected. However, most of the trade areas that we were involved in with our apprenticeship service, they kept pushing on. They modified how they did things, as did we with our work. But largely, we just kept rolling because we had over 350 apprentices out there who kept working. We also had to keep going. We modified what we did, a little bit, of course, to be in line with the public health orders. But we pushed on, we kept that service going. And I think we largely listened to what our customers needed. They kept going, and so did we.
Yeah. And that's the resilience you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Now, mentoring is an important part of any growth of an individual. We have a real focus on youth mentoring here at RDA Central West. But what's one piece of advice a previous mentor has given you that stuck with you over the years?
Well, I go back to when I was in the hospitality industry in Sydney, and I was working at a 5-star hotel called, back in those days it was called the Regent. It's the Four Seasons now, down at Circular Quay. I was in the housekeeping department, so I started out, right at the entry level there. I was cleaning rooms, really. I had to do 13 rooms a day, but I was just dead keen on getting into the hospitality industry. And I thought, well, if I'm going to clean rooms, I'd really like to do it in a really fancy hotel. So I got myself into the industry that way. And what used to happen there was this general manager by the name of Ted Wright. He was ex-Army. He was a general in the US Army. Ted Wright was a GM of several hotels in the US, but then he came out to have a gig down at the Regent. And every day, no matter what, he would go down to the front desk, get a randomly generated list of rooms. He'd put a white glove on, and he would select randomly, 5 rooms. And the general manager of the hotel would walk in, along with the people who'd cleaned the room. He'd meet us there. And he'd literally get a white glove, and check the dusting. He'd sit in the bath to see what the guest would see when they're in the bath, And I guess that's always stayed with me. Like, someone at such a senior level has actually, he wants to know, what is the customer experiencing? So that's something that I have always remembered and probably have taken through with me, and really admired that sort of approach. Okay, let's see what the customer is experiencing. It's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a little bit about pathways, career pathways. One of the last ones I wanted to touch on this morning is, I guess, Skillset runs Youth Connect.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about Youth Connect? Because I think that's another interesting one.
Youth Connect, is a really important program, I think. As it said, it's about connecting young people to a positive outcome. The young people, to be eligible for that program, they're not in work, they're not in training, and they're not at school. They may be enrolled at school, but they may not be attending school. And we think it's a really vital program for our region. We deliver it right across the Central West. That young person will have a case manager that will guide them through a really rigorous program that actually gets them connected to a positive outcome. It might be connected to some training at TAFE. It might be actually re-enrolling in school again after some, consultation with that young person, their family. We've had some really positive outcomes getting young people into apprenticeships who've just said, you know what, school's not for me, I just can't do it anymore. But just some guidance from, once again, a face-to-face person who's really well trained, and getting those young people through that program. I think we've had about over 500 go through that program since we started. Really, really important program.
Absolutely, and I guess if you don't know the pathways that exist as a young person, this just links you in. Last one I wanted to talk on, it kind of flows on from that, is the Skillset College. Now this is an innovative one, and I know Skillset's being recognised with some awards around it, but can you tell us about the college, how it started, and why it's so important for the region?
So Skillset Senior College is an independent special assistance school. We kicked it off in Bathurst in 2015, really as a response. I suppose I always say it was opportunity meets need, because we really saw a need out there. We were getting a lot of young people through, coming to us in Bathurst, falling out of mainstream education, saying, I can't do school anymore, I want to do an apprenticeship. But actually, many of them were not ready for an apprenticeship either. What they needed to do was actually finish their schooling, get their foundation skills in order for them to transition better into an apprenticeship. And so we had the beautiful Flannery Centre in Bathurst, which was largely underutilised. We had a lot of spare rooms that were set up a while ago for an RTO style program. And so we had this beautiful physical opportunity with classrooms, a lovely big meeting place, outdoor areas, 2.9 hectares of land. And so I put to the board, what a great opportunity. Maybe we need to open an independent school that actually can help young people who are falling out of mainstream education to get through either to year 10 or through to year 12 to get them their education. And so thankfully the board was very brave, I guess, and not completely risk averse, because it was a bit of an unusual thing to say, let's open a school. However, that has really paid off. We've now got 148 students. We've opened a second campus in Dubbo, and we've got 34 staff employed in that school. We've got amazing teachers, amazing school leadership, and really a very different approach to high school education. Small class sizes, a very high teacher ratio. Teachers are first name basis. We don't do detentions, and we pretty much have more of a young adult relationship with that person.
And how many students have gone through the college to date, roughly?
Oh, look, it would be over 300. Yeah, over 300.
There was actually a really nice story on the 7:30 report maybe 1 or 2 years ago on the Skillset College. We might try to fish that one out of the archives and put the link up to that one after this morning's chat, because it was a really nice little showcase of what you were trying to achieve. But to wrap up this morning, Craig, what's your forecast for the region over the next 12 to 18 months, looking into the crystal ball?
Well, I'm a huge fan of this part of the world. I just think it's probably going to get more and more popular in terms of relocators. We're already seeing quite a lot of that through our permanent recruitment service. We're getting a lot of interest, people phoning us saying, what are the job opportunities here? We're also seeing people come into the region and bring their job with them. We're seeing people, relocating from either, a big capital city. We're also seeing regional movements as well. I think there was a Regional Institute Australia report recently showing there's actually quite a lot of region to region movement as well. So we are seeing that. I'm hugely optimistic about the Central West. It's a fantastic place. I would just like to make sure that we get the infrastructure in terms of transport, in terms of all of those core pieces of infrastructure that you need to grow. I think if we get that right, I think it can be a really optimistic outlook.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I share your optimism, and a lot of the guests we've had on have kind of got that same perception of what the next 18 months looks like for the region. But to finish up this morning, what's the easiest way for listeners on the podcast, viewers this morning through Facebook, to engage with you and Skillset, to learn more about some of those services we've touched on this morning and to engage with your helpful team?
Look, you can just Google Skillset or skillset.com.au. We'll get you onto our website. That's really the easiest way. All of our services are available. Pretty easy to follow links there. Easy. We'll chuck up all those details, all the handles for the social media details after this morning's chat. But Craig, thank you so much for your time. Hope everyone's got a lot out of that one. Everyone, stay warm and dry this weekend, and we'll catch you next time on the RDA Central West Business Leaders Breakfast. Thanks so much. Thanks, Sam.
Cheers.
Great.